Today, we know film is a form of entertainment, a large moneymaker, and a huge industry. But have you ever stopped to wonder, how did this DVD I'm watching come to be? In this vidcast, we'll touch on many aspects of the history of film, such as the silent era, the golden age, New Hollywood, and how cinema transformed into the industry we know and love today. The first remarkable invention that led to the film type that we have today was the cinematograph, invented by Louis Lumiere in 1895. The cinematograph popularized motion pictures, and some say that this invention began the motion picture era. Around the same time in 1891, Thomas Edison created the kinetoscope. Cinema became one of the most popular forms of art during the Victorian age. People liked it because it was cheap, simple, and close compared to their other forms of entertainment. In our modern times, the lasting effect of cinema is imminent. Today we have television, home DVD movies, and still, the movie theater is a popular form of entertainment for old and young alike. The first motion pictures created were silent films. A lot of times, silent films were accompanied by musicians and outside sound effects. Some of the most famous silent films are The Phantom of the Opera in 1925, Nosferatu in 1922, and Charlie Chaplin's City Lights in 1931. Nosferatu was a German silent film made in 1922. Nosferatu was an unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Because it was unauthorized, the heirs of Stoker demanded that all copies of Nosferatu be destroyed. Only one copy survived. Although most copies of Nosferatu were destroyed, it is now regarded as an influential masterpiece and is credited with being the first real horror film. The Golden Age of film was an era dominated by great films and lasted from the end of the silent era to the late 1960s. Some films of the Golden Age include Gone with the Wind, Singing in the Rain, and The Wizard of Oz. Because most of the Golden Age films were geared towards adults, the film industries largely missed out on the teenage and young adult audience. Film industries could have profited greatly, especially because of what was going on at the time: the hippie movement, Vietnam protests, and black and gay right movements. Once the television was invented, the film industry crashed. People were more interested in watching television in the comfort of their own home for free than going to and paying for a movie. Film industries were trying to find a way to make movies more appealing. Shock value was not an option because of the Hays Code, which enforced strict rules on what was deemed appropriate for movies, not nudity and swearing. Instead, everything became bigger. Movie screens were expanded, more science fiction movies were made, and effects such as 3D were incorporated. Hollywood essentially had to reinvent themselves to keep up with television. At the start of the 1970s, after the decline of cinema, a new period of film developed, now referred to as the New Hollywood. This age incorporated much of what could not before be shown in movie theaters: sexual content and graphic images. New concepts were introduced in this time because a new generation of young filmmakers emerged. The more notable of these filmmakers were Woody Allen, George Lucas, Paul Newman, and Stanley Kubrick. Particularly valuable with these new young filmmakers was that they could make movies that appealed to the youth. Some notable movies from this era include Bonnie and Clyde, Planet of the Apes, and The Shining. In the 1980s, VCR became increasingly popular. Film studios attempted to ban VCRs from homes as a violation of copyright, but their campaign was unsuccessful. Lucky for the film studios, VCR home videos became a large industry in itself, with people purchasing videos and renting them from video stores. Today, film is a bigger industry than ever. In 2009, James Cameron's Avatar became the highest-grossing film of all time, grossing nearly $3 billion. Since, 3D and Pixar animated films have become extremely popular, and home video VCR has evolved into DVD, which has evolved into Blu-ray.